The Enitan Story started about 10 years ago as a result of the need to fill the gap in the system when it comes to providing services to those who have experienced human trafficking. And when we say human trafficking in our context, we mean both sex and labor trafficking. We are a survival led organization and we think about the human beings who have experienced crime. So sometimes we may have someone who is experiencing domestic violence and sex trafficking, or domestic violence and labor trafficking. We provide services to those. And sometimes we have someone who is only experiencing domestic violence and we provide services to those too. And the way we provide services is through referrals to be able to get comprehensive service for the individual.
My name is Rita Apollo. I have been on the board of directors of the Enitan Story for the past 10 years. It has been an honor to be part of this work and in helping to build the organization. It all started with just one person's story of survivor, overcoming the ordeal of domestic abuse and human trafficking. Then that story was shared to educate people, create awareness, provide a safe space for people to have open and honest conversations, and ultimately to provide the opportunity to do something about it. For the past 10 years, the Anytime Story has been trailblazing this work despite having limited funding. However, we have found great collaborators along the way. Thanks to our partners and funders for working with us to provide opportunities and services to meet the needs of individuals that we serve. Together, we can work towards building a future without abuse or human trafficking. Let's celebrate 10 years and work together to sustain the Anytime Story because there's much more work to be done.
We do case management. We meet with clients at least once a week. So we have a weekly support group where all our clients are encouraged to come to hang out on Friday night. And that was how we came about what we call gratitude support activity. Our support group is now focused on each person telling their victimization story with the hope of encouraging another individual in the room. Instead, it's more focused on you now, today, how you are feeling, what you are grateful for, to kind of help move your mind from the worry of, I don't know what's going to happen with my case, because sometimes for individuals, their case can take years. We've had clients we've worked with that it took 4 years, for example, for them to get immigration relief. And there are other clients that will take longer than that. During that time that people are waiting for immigration relief, for example, for those who are not US citizens, it can be a very challenging period. It's also a period that somebody can be re-exploited and re-victimized. It's also a time that it's so easy for somebody to be lured into another kind of crime. When you have someone who is a victim and then all of a sudden they commit a crime, unfortunately, the system will not see the victimization. They will be focusing on the crime. Sometimes that can be very, very challenging for our clients. So we try to use group to keep them focused on the current thing going on. And we have realized that group also help us to identify immediate need of the client. Sometimes we have clients who are in deep depression, but we may not know until we are in group where we're asking basic questions like, what are you grateful for today? Have you eaten today? Because sometimes we may not even think about food as big thing, but for someone who has experienced trauma, food is a big thing. We've found situations where somebody is not eating for days, but luckily they are coming to group and we're able to do follow up and finding out, oh, they need to meet with a therapist. Sometimes our client needs housing, and housing is one of the big issues because the housing programs also have limitations. There is the limitations for those who are not citizens or do not have residency, and sometimes it's not that they don't have citizenship, it's that they're not within the age limit that can get housing. So that puts somebody in another kind of box That is very challenging. We also do what we call monthly check-in, which is one-on-one with individual clients. And that's when we talk about their case, what help they need, or whether we still have to keep waiting and encouraging them. During the one-on-one, we work with them to create goals. They have the short-term goals and then the long-term goals. It's amazing how people are really meeting those goals and achieving those goals. And one of those goals achieved is this book. This is a book published by one of our clients. One of our goals was to become a published author, and she published a children's book. We track the goals that they've accomplished because also it's helped us to show them the progress they have made. Sometimes if you have goals and those goals are not written, they're just in your head and you achieve them, it's hard to do the mental inventory and really see. We do take notes when we do the check-in with them, and we share those notes with them to say, okay, this is your own copy, to keep seeing what you need to work on. And sometimes part of the goals is what we have to work on too. It's two-way street. They have their responsibilities, we have our own responsibilities, and sometimes while we're brainstorming together with the client, some of those responsibilities will fall on the Enitan Story. For us as a survival-led organization, success is when the individual is able to move on with their life and create their own reality. Our role in that process is to be the support and help wherever we can, but what they want has to come from them, and we work with them to make that a reality for them. We also have a youth group we call TESIEC. It's called the Enitan Story Youth Empowerment Circle. It's focused on those who are age 24 and below. And that one, basically, we meet every month too, where we ask what they want. So what they want could be education, could be scholarships, could be jobs. So we use that opportunity to find those stuff for them. We also use it as an opportunity to talk about safe relationships and how to prevent re-exploitation of someone who had already been exploited, because it's so easy for someone who has experienced trafficking, either sex or labor trafficking, to be re-exploited. So we use that group to help our clients to avoid that and also provide the resources, specific resources that they are needing to them.
Hello, my name is Yvette Toko. I am the board chair for the Enitan Story. I've been with the Enitan Story for nearly 10 years. One of the things that I wish to highlight is the GSA support group. I've attended the support group on numerous occasions and witnessed survivors talk about two things they've benefited from. The first one is the mental health support from attending groups and coming together and just being able to be with one another with a shared common understanding and a shared experience. The second one is the financial support that survivors receive. This support helps survivors pay their cell phone bills and pay other bills, and also be able to buy food. So I would like to thank our stakeholders for supporting the Enitan Story.
We do a lot of education, training. In fact, thanks to one of our funders, Headwaters Foundation, we developed this training with 3 clinics, a professor, and 3, we call them subject matter experts. Subject matter experts in our context are those who have experienced trafficking, but now they are using that experience as experts to inform the work, because we believe that for us to really create a solution, the people who are directly impacted have to be part of that solution process. And having the subject matter expert help us develop this training has been very, very impactful, because we've trained 3 clinics there, and now under the Bush grant, we're training additional clinics. But when Enitan Story started, for the first 5 years, we didn't have grants. The funding we had were donations from individuals. But since 5 years ago, we've been getting grants, and our first grant came through the Minnesota Department of Health, which is an OVC grant. OVC is the Office for Victims of Crime. And on that project, we were working specifically to do outreach on labor trafficking. So we were training professionals who are more than likely to come in contact with those who have experienced labor trafficking, because even those who serve domestic violence victims and those who serve sex trafficking victims, those individuals who have experienced those crimes could be experiencing those crimes alongside labor trafficking. So teaching them how to recognize it when folks are coming through has been impactful, because right now labor trafficking is becoming more popular for people to learn about among service providers and professionals across the state. And during the implementation of that project, with the OVC grant, we were able to train more than 100 professionals, and we did outreach to a lot of households, and through the media, social media, online, and also traditional media, we were able to reach about or over 10,000 households in Minnesota. The Bush grant is how we got here now. We are still training professionals, but we took it a step further by also training our lawmakers. And in fact, Peter here, that was how we got connected to Peter, because he's a police officer from Lesotho. In the state of Minnesota, there has been funding for sex trafficking, but no funding for labor trafficking. Even there are funding for domestic violence, but no funding for labor trafficking. So training our lawmakers help them to realize that labor trafficking is happening also in Minnesota, and the fact that they passed a wage theft act in 2019 also helped to be uncovering some labor trafficking when investigators are going out to identify or investigate wage theft. So now we are hopeful that there will be funding available for those who have experienced labor trafficking in Minnesota to be able to get comprehensive services, trauma-informed services through case management, housing, and legal services in the state of Minnesota. Before the Enitan Story, there was a book that was actually the beginning of how this whole thing started. And that book, Imprisoned, The Travels of a Traffic Victim, was what I did first to bring attention to the issue of human trafficking. And in my case, it was labor trafficking. My goal was for everybody possible to know, and for those who are still in captivity to be able to get help to come out. So I went to the local TV station called Public Access TV in Blaine. I did a class on movie or how to produce your own show. During the class, my classmates decided they would join me to produce in prison show from the book. Although we're a very tiny organization, right now we're an organization of 2 staff, and we have a professional fellow also working with us right now. That their time is short, so they will be leaving us soon. But we are grateful for all the hands that has been helping us to be able to get to where we are today.
So I came into this country on a different note altogether: victim identification, mobilization, sensitization, and advocacy programs, victim rehabilitation, victim handling, and offender handling. So we don't have really much on offender handling. I think we can do that as the police. But there's a vacuum between victims and perpetrators. So the key issue that I think I have learned so far with the Enitan Story, which came as a bonus anyway, because I was looking for rehabilitation, but I didn't know what exactly goes into the rehabilitation. That's what I call a bonus, because since I came into the Enitan Story, I realized that at some point we must have convicted the victims, because we first look at them as perpetrators than victims of trafficking. So I think I've gained a really good insight in terms of their approach, in terms of their policy, in terms of handling, in terms of dealing with the victims. How do you connect with the victim for the first time as a cop? Taking in mind the trajectory of the police training, of the law enforcement. I mean, we are not trained to be therapists, and our approach to any crime, most notably, is force. But with reference to my own country, and of course in the US, I was very lucky to observe the movement around the airports, the ports of entry. That's where we have a lot of trafficking. And that's where I think both my country and the US, the law enforcement need to a little bit work on that in terms of identification, in terms of handling. So I'm really happy because I've seen that the BCA is on the process of recruiting a therapist. Whether we like it or not, we are not experts in that field. We may try to fill the lacuna, but we always need agencies like the Enitan, people who know. Now I know I'll have subject matter experts in my country. Now I know that there are some policies within the what they call the survivors that we can implement. So I have developed some sort of keen interest around that area, and then I might be working on a publication in 2 weeks' time around the survivors, looking at some of the policies that were imposed, some of the recommendations around the survivors in Minneapolis, included the lifting of what they call it, the conviction, how they get employed, how they get integrated into the system, how they are not seen as criminals so that they are absorbed within the city of Minneapolis system. I mean, I can take everywhere, but this is in short what I can say.
Well, for me, it has been a really good experience. I joined the Enitan Story 3 months ago, and the most important part for me is to see how making a difference in people's life and how the Enitan Story helped them rebuild their life and regain their freedom. We just don't help the person but their family too. Giving them their power back is just really inspiring to me because that really helped me too. Like it gives me power too. So I really like that part. Also, the community around this anti-trafficking movement, just to know all the people that have this passion and how they advocate for this matter is amazing.
Celebration times! Congratulations to the Enitan Stories and its founder, Honorable Coloriola, on those 10 years anniversary. It's been 10 years of a lot of work, hard work. I know the tears, the struggle, the frustrations, laughs that you've been through all these years. I've seen also with the passion and the dedication that you put toward to serving victims and survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence. There's a lot of stories to tell from all those individuals that been benefits from your program, from your organization, from the love and caring that you put out there. Thank you so much, Bukola. And I'm pretty sure you have been impacting so many families and so many people. You are an inspiration. So, Bukola, you are the Enitan Story. Thank you so much. God bless you and more years to come ahead of success.